Welcome to the ProLinks podcast, where we sit down with entrepreneurs, business owners, and professionals to uncover the stories behind their success, the spaces they operate in, and how they're building for the future. Real talk, real stories, and real estate, all in one place. We're your hosts, Adam Lee.
Andy Chia.
And today's guest is someone who knows how to protect the biggest investment of your life, before the keys, before the contracts, before you even move in or break ground. He and his team are making sure your property is actually yours. I'm talking about Jason Hudson, of course, the president and managing principal of Cornerstone Land Abstract, one of the top title firms based in New York. But beyond just being the brains behind the operation, he's a leader with real charisma, serious industry insight, and a passion for making the complicated parts of real estate feel simple and safe. Jason, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Absolutely. Let's start with a little background about yourself. And for those who are not familiar with what a title company does, walk us through a brief synopsis of how you got into the title business.
Yeah, most people don't know what title insurance is, even my parents. So I moved to New York in 2002 with a passion to work in professional sports. And I landed a job working for the New York Mets. I was selling season tickets and luxury boxes. And my sales territory was the west side of Manhattan. At that time, in the early 2000s, the biggest entertainers, or the biggest industry that was buying entertainment and tickets and whatnot was title insurance, abstract companies. And my best client purchased, I think, 10 or 12 luxury boxes from me at the time. Mm-hmm. Being a kid from Kansas, this was the biggest sale that I'd ever made. And for some reason, we became friends. That client and I became friends. That friendship turned into, a year later, him offering me a position to work within his title insurance firm. I was very, very clear with him that I had no idea what title insurance was. I was very clear with him that I didn't know what real estate was. And he said, trust me, don't worry, come work for me. I'll teach you. I thought about it for a day, took the job the next day, and I've been in the industry now since 2003. So we're approaching 22 years. I started back end, making copies, scanning documents, recording documents, moved into a title closer role. So I would physically travel to the closing and be the representative for the title closer at the closing table with a buyer, a seller, attorneys, lenders. And I would notarize documents, I would record documents, and then I moved into more of a sales role. And then after 8 years of being within that organization, I left, and then that's when I joined Cornerstone. And from Cornerstone, the days early on were sales and marketing, and then over the last 10 plus years, it's been ownership and growth and driving Cornerstone to that next level.
It's amazing, man.
So most people think the title process just magically happened behind the scenes. Can you tell us what actually goes down after buyer going through the contract?
Typically, after a contract is signed, the attorney would reach out to us as the title agent and order a title search. A title search would be a full comprehensive scrape of all the relevant data from municipalities, anywhere from the Department of Finance to the DEP, Housing and Buildings. And what we do with that report is we compile it in a nice, concise manner that we then provide out to each party involved, buyer side, seller side, and if there's a lender involved. We also research the history of the property, which is called the abstract. So that abstract search, we go into the clerk's office through the document history or the property history, and we scrape 40 to 60 years, depending on how old the property is. We do a gigantic comprehensive search of that property. Our attorneys in-house review the documents and they confirm ownership. So within that confirming of the ownership, that then confirms that the seller, who's portraying themselves as the seller, is actually the seller, and that all of the relevant and pertinent information that we have searched is correct. And then once the documents are compiled, and circulated to the parties involved, that's when the negotiating of the deal gets started. Buyer side start to work with the seller side to clear it up, and then it's with the intention of moving towards a closing date.
Nice. So what we're hearing is that it's, everything that you do has a crucial role in protecting the buyer, right? Let's talk fraud for a second. How often do you catch fake sellers, forged signatures, or just shady stuff that people wouldn't believe, right? Because, you hear in the news a lot of this stuff pre-2008. A lot of those things were occurring, and I'm sure since then it's evolved and it's a lot more stringent, and it definitely puts more added value in the sense of the importance of what you guys do as a title company.
Fraud is always going to occur. There's always going to be fraudsters. I'm of the belief of the fraudsters are always going to be one step ahead. So there's no way to completely avoid fraud. What we do is we try to mitigate the loss and protect the consumer in the event that fraud does occur. Fraud doesn't always occur with a fake document or a fake filing. A claim, which is what our industry tries to avoid, the claim rate is very low, and that creates a stereotype of your policy, your insurance product is unnecessary. My rebuttal to that is, if we do our job correctly, you don't want a claim, period.
Right.
And there's no reason to walk through a situation or put yourself into a position where there is a potential for a claim. A claim benefits nobody. So if we do our job on the back end correctly, the claim does not exist. But claims will always occur just because of where we live. New York City is a very complex environment with several municipalities, several government agencies involved within the transfer of property. And what I mean by that is there are lags in time. So a judgment may not get filed in accordance to maybe the time period that it should. A filing of a ECB may not ever hit in time to get pulled when we do our title search. So there's that gap period which the insurance policy that we provide covers the owner. So it's not always a fraudster. It's not always someone posing as someone else or someone stealing a property with a fraudulent deed. Right. There are many instances where a claim can occur from something as simple as a boundary line agreement. And I say simple as a boundary line agreement. Depending on where the property is located, if you're in the suburbs, it could be a fence that's been on the property for 10 plus years, that when a surveyor comes out and surveys the property, they find out that it's overlapping on the seller's or the buyer's property by 10 feet. It could be a shared property wall on a development site within the boroughs that could create conflict. That's where we come into play. That's where we provide our legal guidance and our legal professionalism to guide and advise the client, whether it's a commercial client or a residential client.
Well, speaking about fraud, just a couple of days ago, we had a meeting with a homeowner. They had a contract with a buyer, but there was someone else was pretending to be the homeowner because the buyer went in to order the title. It actually find out whoever was selling it was not the owner. And this was a land deal for $5-6 million.
Yeah.
So you know how crucial was that? It was literally a couple of days when we went to the meeting.
Yep.
I personally sat in closings where a girlfriend of a seller has pretended to be the wife.
Yep.
And part of the job of the title representative at the closing is to confirm IDs. And it's it's always a government issued ID. So you cross-reference who's on title within the title report that we provide. And then you see who's sitting at the table and you're like, something's not matching up here? Can you explain? And there's always an explanation, but it's our job to protect the incoming buyer because that is our client. Right. We are protecting the incoming purchaser from anything that has occurred in the past on the property.
Absolutely.
Can you share if ever there was one craziest problem that you have ever seen that almost, blow up or killed the deal or nearly did? And how did you navigate? I'm not sure is that the right word, navigate or help the client fix and achieve to the finish line, to the closing table?
I think within our industry, what makes it unique is that every deal is different. There's always going to be some sort of challenge. There's always going to be some sort of problem to solve. If I were to give one instance where we were able to avoid a client or help a client purchase a property when there could have been issues we were representing an investor who was purchasing a multifamily property in Manhattan. Mm-hmm. And he came to me after he had signed the contract of sale, which I always advise every one of my clients, reach out to me first. Let me help you with the due diligence. Let us figure out if you are buying what you think you're buying. Because whatever's disclosed in a listing agreement, no disrespect to brokers or agents, but the hard facts are the hard facts. Right. What's black is white, what's white is black. It's not always the case. You have a clear indication of, is the CO correct? Right. Is the zoning correct? Are there covenants or restrictions? Are there certain things that we can uncover that are going to protect you and with your time and effort and energy prior to signing that contract of sale? That's a long way of me saying he didn't engage with us early on. He sent me the contract of sale. He was already in the deal, and we provided a title report to him. Within the title report, there was a very specific restriction on the property that it could only be used as a religious organization or a religious structure. Okay. And he was like, dude, there's 30 units on this building. There's no part of this that has any type of religious organization. Right. And I was like, all right. So whoever built this building 20 years ago either missed this or they completely disregarded it and just did what they wanted to do. And the incoming buyer, his concern was, I'm going to pay 7 figures for this building. What's the likelihood of somebody coming back from the church saying, yo, you can't build an apartment building here. Right. So what we were able to do is we were able to research the religious organization. It was still in existence. It was still operating. And we internally at the title company were able to consult him on his risk. Mm. He went back to the seller and said, I want to avoid the contract. I'm out of this. It's too much risk. Right. And I just thought the deal was dead. He reaches out to me 2 months later, says, Jason, we're back in the deal. And I said, what happened? He weighed his risk. He was able to negotiate the purchase price down $2 million. Oh, wow. And he thought at that price, it was worth, I won't say rolling the dice, but his risk was less than what he thought that he was willing to take that risk and really willing to move into that deal. He purchased the property, but had he engaged in us or with us 6 months prior, he would have saved that 6 or 8 month period where he was stressing out, negotiating, going back and forth. So didn't necessarily save him as far as alleviating his risk, but we were able to provide him with he was able to make an educated decision based on what his risk tolerance was. Right.
And I got to ask, was there a possibility for them to actually change the use case, or was that
No.
No.
No, there was in our opinion, there was no way for that restriction to ever get released without creating more of an issue than there already was.
Right.
So, for lack of better analogies, opening up Pandora's box, if we would have gone back to that religious organization, even though it was still in existence, it may have created an issue where a light was shed on a situation that probably never would have been uncovered. So we just let the sleeping dog lie.
Yeah. No, I got you. I mean, you know, what comes to mind is like, you know, for us, we in the past few years, we've come across a lot of like community facilities, right? And so that kind of like falls into that same genre where, you know, certain builders and certain buildings have these spaces available, but a lot of businesses don't qualify under that, right? Yep. And so, I guess my next question for you is, in commercial deals, as you know, Andy and I and Lillian, we focus mostly on commercial, but in commercial deals, especially large ones, with multiple partners, lenders, and zoning, how is the title process way more complex than, let's say, with a residential or, you know, a house?
I would say it's as simple as one word: people. There's just more people involved. There's more parties involved. On a commercial transaction, you could have 20 to 30 people, 20 to 30 different parties involved within that transaction. Anyone from a land use attorney to the attorneys representing the buyers and the sellers. You've got lenders, you've got investors, you've got architects, you've got title companies, you've got agents, you've got consultants. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And then within the law firms, you have partners and associates, and the ability for, or the advantage of working with a company such as mine is we are able to organize that party. So think of it as the title company is the hub. Every party involved within a transaction flows through the title company. We are working with the buyer side. We are working with the seller side. We are working with the lender. We are working with all parties involved within that transaction. Everything flows through the title company. So our ability to communicate is extremely, extremely important, to the point where we are the maestro. We're the team that's making sure that the deal is getting pushed forward, that we're all moving towards a closing, but in the same sense, making sure that everyone is communicating, making sure that everyone is speaking with one another, and that all your T's are crossed, all your I's are dotted, because within the transaction, within a real estate transaction, there are thousands and thousands of documents. It's such an antiquated process where there's still paper involved. People like to see wet signatures. People like to see a pen and a paper. So a DocuSign doesn't exist. So as we coordinate all parties involved, we are also collecting all of the pertinent and relevant title documents or loan closing documents, assembling everything so that it can then get recorded and made public record at the clerk's office. So it's just people. It's just your ability to manage people. It's your ability to set expectations, be transparent, and communicate all the way through.
Well, it sounds like so many words. You got documents, you got people, you got relationship between a lender, buyer, seller, agents, all that all together. Seems very, very complicated, hard work.
A lot of moving parts, and it's, absolutely important to be organized and systematic, right? At this process.
Since you're in the industry for such a long time, can you tell us one of the most common mistakes that buyer and investor makes oftenly?
I made reference to it earlier on in the conversation. I think that buyers, investors' biggest mistake is not reaching out or engaging with a title company from the beginning. I don't know that they necessarily consider us a resource or an advocate for them, but I am a firm believer of understanding and knowing what you're purchasing before you purchase it. I mean, it just makes common sense. It's just understanding if you're buying property, who's protecting that property in the long run for you? It's us. We're providing that insurance policy. So why wouldn't you reach out to us as your advocate, as your resource for us to do that investigation to make sure that before you sign that contract of sale, before you sign that PSA, that you fully understand what it is that you're buying. Otherwise, the New York City market moves so quickly that you make one mistake, you make one hiccup, you lose the deal, and you're on to the next. And
timing is everything.
Time is everything. To avoid any additional or unnecessary hiccups or delays, you're just putting your best foot forward. You're giving yourself the best opportunity to purchase that property in a timely manner.
So to have a relationship with a title company, I think is very important, right?
Yeah.
And you need to have someone that you trust, that you could maybe call them when you need it. Hey, I'm looking at this property, either for primary or investment. Hey, this we're looking at. It may or may not have a problem. Can you look that for me? So I think it's very important.
I think that it's the most important thing when buying real estate. You have to have a team. You have to have a trusted set of teammates, advisors that you can reach out to, that you know that when you call them, when you text them, when you email them, they are going to answer you. This is your advisory team. This is the team that you've created that's going to help you buy that first property, buy that second property. And within any team, the support is
crucial.
Extremely crucial. You have to have that team. You have to have people that you trust in.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it seems that in the current state, right, that many buyers aren't fully aware of the title process, right? And as a result, they often go with the title company recommended by their attorney, agent, broker, or mortgage professional, right? So beyond relying on referrals from industry professionals, what steps is Cornerstone taking to build direct awareness amongst consumers and investors? And how can our viewers specifically request to work with you during their transaction?
Historically, our industry has been a B2B type of relationship. We network, we work with, and we surround ourselves with industry professionals. What we've done at Cornerstone is we've created a brand new division, a brand new department that's a B2C. We are reaching directly out to the consumer, but how? So we had to take a step back and put ourselves in the shoes of that husband and wife, that first-time home buyer, and really fully understand what their issues, what they're trying to accomplish, and how we can help. And it goes back to, I think was one of the first or second questions you asked was, most people don't understand what title insurance is. So we started with that. People don't fully understand what title insurance is, but they understand what home ownership is.
Right.
They understand that buying a home is most likely going to be the largest investment that a person makes. And we put ourselves in the shoes of the consumer and said, I can understand that. I can understand what the home buying process is. So what we did was we reverse engineered what the process and how we educate the consumer. So instead of pounding on the door and saying title insurance, you have to understand what title insurance is, we said, let's advise, let's educate the consumer on how to buy property. So what we've done is we've created literature, we've created educational material. We are putting out content that focuses solely on home ownership. Who's involved? When do you get them involved? What needs to be done at what stage? Who am I hiring? Why am I hiring this person? at what point do I need to reach out and talk to an attorney? At what point do I need to reach out and talk to a lender? And as I mentioned before, we're the hub. We work with everybody already. So as we're educating the consumer, whether it's through a newsletter or a social media post or a video, we are also exploring Google Ads, and we're working through SEO, and we're figuring out, again, how can we get people to see us? How do we get eyeballs on Cornerstone? And it's not for title insurance, guys. We've rebranded ourselves as a closing company that has a title insurance product. We work on a closing. We work, again, all the way through the closing process. So through that closing process, it's the constant education of the consumer. So as we outreach, we are getting inquiries. Those inquiries are coming back into my office. We've created that division that answers those questions, answers those inquiries, and then we become the advisor. We become the advisor. We understand what the needs are. What stage in the game are they at in buying property? Are they at the very beginning? Are they in Queens? Are they in Long Island? Are they in Manhattan? And then through the experience of closing 16,000 deals, we can then make the appropriate introduction. We can make the appropriate suggestion to them, just because we've done this 16,000 times, guys. It's mind crushing to try to wrap your brain around the number of transactions that we've closed. And we are able to make the appropriate recommendations. We are able to put people in the right positions to succeed. We are able to advise the consumer on how to create their team. And it's never been done before. Right. We are essentially flipping the industry on its head. And we've had multiple people tell us that you guys are idiots. You guys don't know what you're doing. Really? This is never going to work. And we just firmly believe that the way that people shop for real estate is so much different than what it was even 10 years ago.
Absolutely. And I think technology and, you know, the wave of social media has changed that, right? Because yeah, like the way that I look at it is like what YouTube did to Hollywood and the TV stations, right? As soon as a person who has, you know, something to share with the world has the capability of publishing or broadcasting, right? It kind of takes away from the gatekeepers. And the original question was, you know, how does a consumer, you know, learn more about the title company or be able to have that choice, right? And I think I totally agree with you in the sense that now in this day and age, B2C is really the way to go, right? Because at the end of the day, it's not that you're trying to undercut or take away other people's roles traditionally, right? I think the more that people are educated, as you said, especially, you know, through the different medias that we have, podcast, video, right? This podcast particularly, right? You're definitely going to have more eyeballs, and more eyeballs and more ears to be educated is ultimately better for the market.
People want to understand what they're buying, whether they're buying a loaf of bread or they're buying a $1 million piece of property. They want to understand what it is that they're buying, and they want to understand that they're getting the best value that they possibly can. They want to understand potential risks. They want to understand potential rewards. And we work in a field of data. So we collect data every day. So if we can share that data and we can share our expertise and our knowledge, I think that we would be doing a disservice to the consumer if we didn't share that, if we didn't educate them. Like I said early on in the conversation, I was a title closer for 8 years. So I physically sat at the closing table probably over 1,000 times easily myself. I can't tell you the number of times that a consumer sitting at the closing table, they're working through their closing statements or their closing statement, and it's outlining their costs. And anyone that's ever purchased property in New York in general,
Right.
it's a gigantic shock to the system to see things as
Every line item.
every line item. You've got mansion tax, you've got real property tax, you've got state transfer tax, you've got city transfer tax, you've got mortgage tax. And the misconception is that all of those items fall within the responsibility of the title insurance company to collect. So we collect all of those items on behalf of the city and the state. And then post-closing, we pay the city and the state what they're due. But at the bottom of that closing statement, it just shows one gigantic number.
Right.
Make this check payable, make this $75,000 check payable to Cornerstone Land Abstract. Right. And the consumer's like, who the hell is that? Why? Why are they making so much money?
Right. Right.
But they don't understand, they haven't been educated. And this is no knock on anyone in within this industry. It's just there hasn't been a company that's taken the time to educate the consumer like we are.
Right. So
that's the objective. We are big advocates on education. We are big advocates on transparency. And I just think that if the ultimate goal is to protect the consumer, we have to educate the consumer.
Absolutely. Now, let's zoom out from the deals for a second and let's get behind that mindset, right? That keeps this organization running.
Out.
What's one lesson you learned early in your career that still drives how you lead today?
I don't know if it was something that I learned early on in my career that drives me today, but I think being prepared in anything that you do in life is the ultimate trump card. And that's not a political pun. That's just it's just a saying that I use. And I think having grown up in a very small town in Kansas, and with my education level, certainly not at the level of most of the people that I work with, I think that my advantage is or has been that I'm prepared. I walk into a situation, I walk into a meeting, I walk into
a podcast.
Mm-hmm. I understand, I'm prepared. I know what to speak about. I know what to expect. And I think that in real estate, being prepared puts you at such another level that it's not a fake it till you make it. It's not a smoke and mirror type of environment where I think that there are maybe historically that's kind of been maybe a stereotype is no knock on these reality TV shows, but it's not all what it's cracked up to be. It's not such an easy process. So being prepared allows you to walk into a listing and blow the minds of a seller because you reached out to your title company and you were able to provide data. Mr. Seller, I know your C of O, I know you've got an open permit, I know you've got a violation, I know what your taxes are, I know that you have an open water bill. I know exactly what's going on with your property because I'm prepared. I walked into this listing being prepared, and that is going to have such an impression on a seller. And that's just one very specific example. But having the prepared mindset allows you to put yourself in a completely different echelon than most people. Most people just don't want to put the time or energy or effort into being prepared. Yep. It's just they just want the easy way. They want the easy way.
Yeah.
There's no other way to put it.
Yeah, there's a saying that I heard recently, and it goes something like, people don't care about you until they realize how much you care.
Yes.
Right? And so it's always about like giving first, yep. Right? Whether it's educating people, but everything that we do in this industry, a lot of people are capable, right? But it's really in the details, right? And if you're working with somebody and you can communicate, that you're bringing that value to them, and you actually care about solving their problem and helping them in that process to reduce the stress, reduce the complications, right? They're going to work with you, right? And I think you hit it on the head in the sense that a lot of people don't do that preparation, and it's just like in any competitive sports, right? Like the work is done behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And when it's game time, it shows how much preparation you put into it.
Yeah, we're helping prepare the consumer, the buyer of real estate, buy property. We're helping them get prepared. We're helping them put the right team in place. We're helping them collect the correct data. We're helping them get prepared to purchase probably the largest acquisition of their lives. And the anxiety and the stress that buying real estate in New York City creates, if you can somehow alleviate just a little bit of that and have the wherewithal to surround yourself with the right people, I think it's a tremendous step in the right direction. You got to be prepared.
Yeah, I want to touch a little bit on what you just said, right? When you guys do BNC and how important this is. For our experience, even currently today with the technology what we have, we go to closing, the buyer will not even know what's title and what our fees are. So what are these? We're in 2025. We'll have DocuSign, we're all AI coming out. They don't know what's title or what are these searches are for. What you guys doing educating the public, I think you guys are the only one who does it right now.
Yeah.
Anyone who's looking to buy in the near future, you should really consult title companies, see what are you buying, what are the fees, what are the searches for. And like you just said earlier, real estate purchase might be one of the biggest investment anyone could make. Why don't you spend a little time educating yourself? Just it might be a simple email or a phone call. Say, hey, Jason, I'm looking to buy this. What do you think about it, right? Well, if you don't have time, it takes 10, 20 seconds to just write an email to protect your biggest asset. I mean, it's no brainer for me.
The way people, again, I made this reference earlier on, people buy real estate so much different than they did 10 years ago. I fully understand the importance of working with the right professionals within the real estate industry. That is something that I will advocate for through and through, as long as I'm working in this industry. I think putting yourself in the right position to succeed. I think that also it's being prepared. I think that you have to find the right outlets, the right advocates for you. And if the creator of a Street Easy or a Zillow or a Trulia would have been sat down 15, 20 years ago, people would have said, you're absolutely crazy. What are you doing? No one's ever going to use this website. They're just going to go to their realtor. They're just going to go to their neighborhood real estate brokerage. They're going to help me. I mean, that changed, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that is absolutely completely 180 from a 15, 20 year period ago. So I think that we have that opportunity to be that disruptor. And I hate using that word disruptor because I think it's overused so much, but it's creating an outlet, creating a resource that people can lean on and really take the advice and the suggestion and help throughout that investment.
Yeah.
Great. So I want to ask you, if someone shadowed you for a full day, what would surprise them most about how you operate as a president of Cornerstone?
Oh man, that's a loaded question. I think that they would be shocked with the difference in every single one of my days. I think that the joy of what I do is that every day is so different and so unique. I can spend an entire day sitting at my desk in my office working on marketing collateral, working through a closing, helping out my staff internally. And then the next day, I'll never set foot in my office. I'll never sit down at a desk. I will be at a breakfast meeting. I will be at a lunch meeting. I will be at a coffee. I will be at a networking event. I will be at a seminar. And then the next day could be a hybrid of both. And then on certain special days, I can play golf with a client, such as this last Friday with Mr. Adam.
Yes.
So I think that every day for me, if you were to shadow me, you would be shocked that it's just such a different environment every single day.
That'd be a great content about somebody following him a day.
Yeah.
Right?
But you got cameras.
You got cameras? It can get dicey.
What kind of culture have you worked tirelessly to build at Cornerstone, and what would you say is the most important principle?
The most important principle, in my opinion, is in creating an environment of accountability. I'm a big proponent of people being accountable. And I'm fully aware that life throws you 1,000 different curveballs every single day. And there's always going to be a situation arise that is completely out of your control. Or it could be a situation that is ultimately all the way in your control and it just goes sideways. I think that owning up to it, I think being accountable is such a valuable quality. And it's such an opportunity to learn. I think that as humans, we all are going to make a ton of mistakes every single day of our lives.
Yep.
But I'm a gigantic proponent of owning up to and being accountable for a mistake. And I think that the environment that we're creating within Cornerstone is one of accountability. As a service industry, I think there's a real opportunity to create more of an experience for the consumer as we work directly with more consumers. The experience of buying real estate shouldn't be so scary. It should be a really exciting new beginning, next chapter for people.
Yeah.
The fear and the anxiety that I think gets associated with buying real estate, we're trying to eliminate that. And as we create that environment of accountability, there's a real opportunity to pass that forward to the consumer and have the ability to really connect and help with that journey of their investment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could imagine the intensity of the environment, work culture. Since you got so much paperwork, people to deal with, it's really hard and stressful at the same time.
It is. There's a timeline. There's always a timeline. There's always a closing occurring, and there's multiple people involved, and there's multiple deals involved. And as a service provider, as a company that is providing a really great experience for the consumer, there's a real ability for us to step in and provide the comfort and security that a consumer needs.
Yeah, absolutely. It's with the timeline, it's like a sprint, right? Anytime these transactions happen, I think a lot of people, especially like first-time home buyers, they're not used to all the chaotic paperwork and things that they need to fill out and provide and have their, accounts in order and everything like that. And it's like a short sprint period of time where it's like, a lot of the money that they've worked tirelessly to save, exits their account, right?
Instantaneously.
And it's instantaneously. And it's, it's exciting and scary at the same time. So yeah, what you guys do is extremely important to.
The uncertainty within every real estate transaction it's the ability to avoid as much of that uncertainty as possible by creating an environment that is secure, by creating that team that I keep referencing that you can trust in, alleviates a tremendous amount of the stress and anxiety. Otherwise, it can be an overwhelming process, to say the least. And again, just through my journey to where I'm sitting here, through the process of closing transactions, you see it. You see it all over people's faces. They're confused. They don't understand. It's the worst feeling ever when you're writing $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 checks and you don't understand where that money's going or why it's going there.
Right.
And usually the title bill, what the title itself gets explained at the latest at the closing table.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I've seen numerous times where people don't know why the title company's sitting there. Who is this? What is that person doing? Why are they there? Why am I writing them a check? They didn't do shit all day. I mean, right. what is the title company? And that's, as a consumer, has to be really scary.
Right.
Why create that unnecessary fear?
Yeah. It's
a disservice. Our industry has done a disservice to consumers for the longest time. And we truly feel like there's an opportunity for us to be that company that advocates for the consumer.
I love that.
So besides work, what is something people would never guess about you? A hobby? A hidden talent?
So that's
anything you could share.
I have...
Just keep it PG, please.
Keep it PG? All right. Most people, it would be safe to say, would never think that I grew up in a town of 500 people in Kansas. I grew up driving tractors. I grew up driving combines. I worked on my uncle's farm all the way through middle school, high school, and college. That's how I was able to attend college. We grew wheat, corn, soybeans, and alfalfa. So my summers consisted of 7:30 a.m. until 8 p.m. every single day, 6 days a week. Sunday, no one works because everyone's at church. But I don't think that people probably see me on a day-to-day basis as a kid that grew up in a town of 500 people with one paved road and had a graduating class of 18 people. It's probably just not, I don't feel like that's, I think that probably shocks people when I tell them. I think that my kids would also say that I probably have a hidden talent in mimicking sounds. Okay. I'm not going to go into like some sounds that I will mimic, but the Alexa alarm, I've been known to mimic an Alexa alarm, and my sons have said, "Alexa, stop!" And it's me whistling, mimicking the sound. Other hidden talents, yeah, I'll stop at that.
What would you say is your personal definition of success now versus when you started?
When I started, I feel like I was chasing money. I feel like the ultimate objective was just to make as much possible money as I possibly could. And that has drastically shifted as my career has progressed. not to say that it's not important to make money, because New York, as we all know, is a very expensive city to live in.
Yep.
But there's been a drastic reset in my mindset of what's truly important, and there's to be able to mentor people, to be able to educate people, to be able to grow a company with like-minded people, to work with like-minded people, and then with the ultimate objective of, yeah, we are going to make a couple bucks here and there. I think it's more about the journey for me now. As we've gone through a complete rebrand of Cornerstone, a complete different mindset change of how we operate as a company, a different perspective on how we connect with people and how we advise people, that has become way more important in the next chapter of my journey than piling up stacks of cash. That will come. I'm confident that when we do things the correct way, and the way that we change the way that our industry operates, that we will be seeked out. People will find us. We're flipping this entire process on its head. We're not waiting for people to engage with us. We're pushing the needle to activate them to want to engage with us. We're not a necessity. We're an advocate. We're a vital tool in what we do in the real estate advisory side of things, with the consultative type of process that we work in. So there's, again, making money it'll come, but it's not the driving force that it once was.
Nice.
I like you guys, how you embrace or willing to change, to do a different stuff. A lot of people, they like to stay with the traditional way, afraid to try something new, but you guys try something different, actually advise with teaching the consumer. I think it's really great. Again, I can't say it enough. I don't think any other company are doing that.
I tell my kids in life, so I have 3 boys, 3 young sons, almost 13, 11, and 8. I tell them almost daily that being comfortable isn't such a great thing. You got to push yourself outside your comfort zone. You got to create that feeling of, it's not a fight or flight type of feeling, but you got to create a little bit of uncomfortableness in the way that you operate, the way that you function on a daily basis, because being comfortable creates laziness.
Right.
Being comfortable is the easy way out. Being comfortable is never going to get you to where you want to get. You've got to put yourself into uncomfortable positions, whether it's on a podcast, whether it's public speaking. It could be a number of different ways that you have to constantly challenge yourself. Otherwise, there's no growth.
100%.
So being a great leader as yourself, what do you think that's one quality being a good leader needs to have?
I don't think I'm a good leader yet. I think I'm learning every day how to be a leader. I've taken strides over the last couple of years, and I'm on a better path than I once was. But I think that being a true leader, you have to lead. I mean, that sounds so simple, but you have to have an ability for people to trust in your advice, in what you say. You have to have the ability to project and create confidence in certain situations that people may not be confident. And that's both in life and in business. There's a number of times where as you lead a company, as you're a leader within a company, you've got the blurred lines of the professional life and then the personal life. And working in a small to mid-sized company, we work very closely with all of our staff and all of our colleagues. So there's a friendship that's created, and there's an opportunity not only on the business aspect, but also on the personal side that you can be a leader in a certain way. You can create the opportunity for maybe a new perspective on how things are thought of, how to accomplish certain things within a business, or how to navigate through a personal issue. And it kind of all flows together as a leader. It also, as I coach my son's basketball teams as well.
Oh, you do?
And as a leader, as the coach, as the leader, you have to have the confidence, you have to project the confidence to these children, because they rely on you. They don't know any different.
Right.
They don't know that there's a 3-second violation, or that you have to dribble, or you have to pivot. You're teaching them. You have to lead them to where you want them to go. They're not just going to figure it out. And you have to set parameters. You have to set a very definitive, you have to be very definitive in what the environment that you're creating. Otherwise, if you just give a person an opportunity to and bail and just say, figure it out,
Right.
they're not, it's never gonna line up with how you want it to get done, or possibly how it's supposed to be done in general. So you have to lead. You have got to put the correct parameters in place, and you have to project and make that person trust and feel that you have their best intent in mind.
Right. So we were playing at a golf event this past Friday together, and we spoke about an interesting topic. We talked about the difference between a founder of a company versus the executive. And to elaborate this concept in its simplest form, the founder operates from a humble beginnings with limited resources. They're tasked with every department and work within the trenches to build, right? And when the organization grows to a sustainable level, in order to scale their business, they need to become the executive, ideally, or hire an executive whose mindset and approach is the polar opposite of the founder, actually. The executive starts implementing systems and data that allows for the growing team to be able to tackle larger scales of business, while the leader frees up their time to attack issues that would essentially compound the growth and impact their company. Where do you stand on this concept? And what are some of the things you're working on to reinvent the way your company operates?
Yeah, I think it's a very valid point. The founder, the visionary, doesn't necessarily always understand how the process is done. There's the big picture, big idea, and then there's the analogy of being in the trenches and fully understanding how the business is done and how to do it efficiently and effectively. I would put myself more in the role of the executive. I'm not, my brain doesn't work as a visionary. My brain is not, it's not coded to have the ideologies of just creating businesses. I can take an idea and then make it better. I can create more efficient ways. I can create better processes. And over the last year and a half, what we've done, what we were, I don't want to say we were forced into, but there was a stark reality, or we went through a certain situation that was a real eye opener for us at Cornerstone, and it pushed us in a direction of we've got to get buttoned up. And the company was founded in 2008, and I think that there's a lot of confusion with most medium-sized companies on what growth is. We always operated under the idea of growth is we're just going to get more clients, we're going to get more deals, we're going to get more, but it's got to be the right type of growth. We came to the realization that more of that is not always more of what we want. And we had to do a deep dive into what is it that we're trying to accomplish. And within that self-reflection and that evaluation of how we operated, we incorporated an operating system called EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System. And it sets very, very strict, it's a very strict structure on what growth looks like. So where do we want to be in 5 years? Where do we want to be in 3 years? Where do we want to be in 1 year? Where do we want to be in 3 months? And how do we get there starting at week 1? So it works, it's reverse engineered. So if we want to get to the goal at year 1, we've got certain levels every quarter that we have to meet. And then within that quarter, we have weekly goals that we have to meet. And the objective is you meet the weekly goal, great. You move on to the next weekly goal. That's great. And then you're pushing towards that quarterly goal. Great. We met the quarterly goal. All right. We reset in the next quarter, week, quarter, reset, week, quarter. And then where are we at the end of year 1? Did we meet the goal that we set? And there's now a very clear understanding of where we're trying to get to and where we're trying to go. And there's that top line growth, but then there's also been a complete rehaul of the internal side of things, reevaluating our internal structure, making sure that the bottom line is where it should be. Are there reductions in expenses that we need to start evaluating? So as both sides are growing together, that creates margin. So you've got the top side, the growth, that's the growth. My role within the company now is growth, which is hiring salespeople, marketing the company, creating the direct-to-consumer division. The bottom line is the CFO. His job is to evaluate the books, make sure that we're not overspending on services, that we're not overspending on leases or product. And as all of the chairs, all of the seats work together, it creates that middle section, which is the margin. That's where you make your money. Right. So the opportunity or the objective is we got to grow. We got to get more sales, more deals. We got to get more eyeballs on the company. We also got to take care of our internal issues as well. So the combination of both of those is putting us in a position to grow, whereas in the past, growth was just like, I got to go out and meet more people. And what does that mean? What does that look
volume,
like?
Right?
Yeah. Which is not always the right growth. You got to understand your clientele. You have to understand the people that you're approaching, and not everybody is a good client for us. Right. And we've come to that realization, and we have fired clients, whereas most service industry driven companies would never think about firing clients. We've had hard conversations with very loyal clients that just are not good for our company anymore.
Right.
If you have one message, just one, share it with the world, what would it be? Just one.
In business or life?
Either way is fine.
Either way.
Anything you feel comfortable.
I'm gonna stick on the business side of things, because I think we are in such a unique position where we're at currently to create an experience for the consumer. And the ultimate objective is to create a 5-star title company. We are all familiar with a 5-star hotel. We are all familiar with a Michelin-rated restaurant. We are all familiar with what those high-end luxury, full-service, white glove type of services look like.
Right.
The objective of what we're trying to grow at Cornerstone is that experience. We want the consumer to have their hand held. We want them to be educated. We want them to enjoy the experience of buying a home, because it is easily one of the most. It should be the most enjoyable, one of the most enjoyable experiences people have, and it doesn't necessarily always line up with what people's expectations are. So our expectation or our objective is to create that experience for the consumer that they've never had and that they'll remember.
So, Jason, we want to thank you again today. Do you have any final closeout statements that you want to say to the viewers? And again, I think you've covered a lot today, and it's super informational, it's super educational, and I think after today, a lot of viewers will definitely have a better grasp of what you guys do.
I truly want to thank both of you guys for the time today, for setting this up. I think it's invaluable to have these types of conversations, to share what we as professionals within the industry take for granted on most days as just common speak, and share it with the masses. And this type of setting, this type of environment allows us to share our expertise, share that expertise of, and help prepare people for that purchase or that acquisition of real estate. And I've said this a number of times, that the power of marketing, the power of video, the power of social media is truly limitless. That we as human beings have a very innate ability to speak and promote, but these types of environments allow us to present and to really capture the material and share it with the community. So thank you guys for the time. Thank you for your guidance. Thank you for your expertise. And yeah, man, this has been great.
No, thank you for taking your time. We really appreciate you. Thanks.